Don't you love the sound of a squishy journal made from a padded envelope? Hi, it's Leigh here. Can you believe we're actually talking about Junk Journal January already? The prompts are out and it's ready to go again. So I'm going to make my journal today, and I'm going to use an Amazon bag as my cover. I'm going to cut it down, and I have some fabric I want to put on the outside of it, and I've got here some A3 papers that I coffee dyed some time ago, and I used all of my stencils when I did it. I just basically went through all my stencils and I sprayed coffee onto them to get some pattern paper, which I then put into my stash. And you probably know how the story's going to end, because this was about 2 years ago, and here's the paper all just sitting here. So I'm going to use up this paper to make my pages for my Junk Journal January journal. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is take care of the cover. So I'm going to get my fabrics and cut down this to the size I want. So I'm hoping to get it to about the size of, I don't know, like an A5 perhaps. So we'll do that first. I'm going to use this book, which is a nice size, to actually get the size that I need for this book, this new book I'm making. And what I'm going to do is, I want, yeah, something like that, and that should allow enough room for expansion. Yes, anyone who doesn't know what Junk Journal January is, it's an open challenge. It's hosted by Meg from Meg Journals, and she does a challenge in January and she does one in July as well. So there's Junk Journal July and there's Junk Journal January. Now, last 2 times that I've done this, I tried to think outside the box a little bit. This time I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be quite restrained in how I make my journal, and I'm also going to take it, make it more like an art journal this year instead of a junk journal. I mean, it's still going to be a junk journal of sorts, but it's going to, my pages are going to be more arty than junky, if you know what I mean. Okay, so I'm getting this cut. That's going to be my cover. I'm going to glue some paper on here, and then I'm going to stitch this on. I want to use this piece of paper, but I want to add something to it. So this is just packaging from Amazon, and I'll have to cut it down, but I want to add some black and white gesso to it. Okay, so let's go with the black for a start. And I'm just going to put random marks on my paper. No plan. Just going to roll that out because this is really gummy, this gesso, this black stuff. It's really old. Really sticky and doesn't spread very well, so it needs a little bit of encouragement with a brayer or some such thing. Okay, so that's enough black in there. Now I've got some white gesso. I'm going to add that on. I'm just going to do the same thing. just random marks, okay? And because black, gold and white together are my favourite colour combinations, I'm going to use some gold watercolour. I want to get it fairly loose. I love that combination, it's just yummy. So has everybody been watching Defemerember? I've been having so much fun with that. So I've just put up my 8th video for that one. And I made a little robot. It was a mushroom robots was the prompt. And yeah, so I made a mushroom robot. I feel like it needs a little bit of blue of some sort. What have I got here? This is a Distress Oxide. The Tim Holtz Distress Oxide tumbled glass. Let's see what this looks like. It's a pretty colour. Don't want it too intense. This is only the inside cover. Okay, I think I should dry this off now. Paper's dry now, so I'm going to glue it down with some, like onto this side of this packaging with some clear PVA glue that I have watered down just slightly. That's ink in the bottom of that this little bowl. It's permanent, so it's not going to come off into the glue, but it wouldn't really matter if it did. This stuff stinks. And I'm putting it on the bag rather than the paper because I don't want the paper to go too wrinkly. So I think by putting it onto the bag, the paper will stick without, you know, the liquid that's in the glue making it all wet and wrinkly. So I'm going to make sure I get it on the edges. I was just checking then to make sure it was actually a multi-purpose glue, and it is. I might have picked something up out of my husband's shed that I shouldn't have. Okay, so that's nice and covered, and I'm just going to plonk that down sort of centrally and smooth it out. Ooh, sorry about that. And I'm just going to trim off those edges. No, I'm going to tear them off. Oops. Ripped a little bit. Okay. Okay, if it starts ripping, I'm going to stop pulling it and just leave it like that and trim it with the scissors. We'll wait till it's dry. Okay, my New Year's resolution, I've already got one going, is I'm not keeping piddly little pieces of anything as scraps. So if it's a scrap that I'm going to keep, it's going to be a worthwhile sized piece that I actually have a chance of using. Because I just keep so much stuff. It doesn't get used, it just sits in my box until I get sick of looking at it, and then I go through and throw out bits and pieces and fill the box up again. So that's what the inside of the paper, the book, is going to be looking like. So I'm going to stitch my cover on. I think I'm going to have to wait for that glue to dry. Alrighty, here's my cover. It was so easy to make. So that bird's in the perfect position. And then on the back, we've got that one. And there's another one down here, but you can't see much of that. So that's going to be my cover. Now I need to get my pages sorted out. Now my papers are A3 size, but when I fold them into a quarter like that, they fit perfectly into my book. So I thought, to give strength to the pages, instead of cutting them in half and folding them in half, I'm going to use each page doubled. I wondered about maybe stitching around the outside of all of them, whether I could be bothered doing that or not, or just gluing. So I'm going to fold them up and then I'll make my decision. I might stitch some and glue some. Okay, so I ended up sewing them all. Got 9 leaves, I think they're called. So I'll end up with 36 pages, and I've made it as rough as I could by basically just not holding the paper as it sews and just moving it if it looked like it was going to run off the edge of the paper. So basically letting the sewing machine decide where it wanted to go. So I'm just going to do all the corners. Okay, so pages had the corners rounded. I've put them into signatures, so there's 3 full sheets in each one, so 4 pages by 3, so 12. That's 36 pages altogether. Pop them to the side because I want to do a little bit with this. I want to see if I can maybe see if a stamp will work on there. I don't know whether it will. So I'm just going to try with some black archival ink, and because it's got quite a coarse texture, and I've got a scrap somewhere that I can try. So I'll just try this one, see whether it works or not. Well, it's not too bad. Alrighty, so I'm just going to pop some text randomly. Is it upside down? No, it's up the right way. It's amazing. And I think what I'll also do is maybe drip some inks on. Okay, so I'll do for that stamp. I've got some mica stones. I've got Wicked Elixir, which is a green, and then Decayed, which is a grey sort of green. I really like both of them. Ground espresso and gathered twigs. I think I'll try the gathered twigs to start with. I'm trying to get it to, come out in blobs. So what I'll do with this is hit it with a bit of water after I get all this ink on there. This is a strange sort of fabric. I'm not sure what it actually is. I really like this Decayed. It's such a nice colour. And it's a mica spray. I have ground espresso, so let's go in the corners. Oh, that's intense, isn't it? And I want to put back that green. No, that's the wrong one. This one. Okay, so now let's see what happens when I spray a bit of water on it. And it's not going to affect that stamping because that was archival waterproof ink. How's that looking? Oh, I like that. Does it need any other colours on there? I don't have a lot. I've got some blues. Maybe some blue. Let's have a look. I could always splatter it with some watercolours too. So this one is Stormy Sky, so I've only just bought these. I bought them for myself as a birthday present because all my inks were sort of the same colours. browns, basically. Peacock feathers, definitely not. This is one tumbled glass, and then there's evergreen bough. Maybe a bit of evergreen bough in there. It's quite a pretty colour. And I'm just going to put some water on there again. Okay, and then I just want to use the ground espresso to splatter some it's going to end up looking more like a Halloween journal, which is what I actually bought these the placemat or the table runner for. I didn't think this fabric would absorb the way it has been, so I'm quite pleased with that. Maybe a little bit of gold watercolour, because it's right here, and it's on the inside cover as well of the cover. Oops. Okay, and then I do have the black drawing ink. Could put a bit of that on there. This stuff is so potent. Dries really quickly, so to get it to not dry out so fast, I always put a bit of water with it. It also helps it to splatter. Yes, I like that. So I'm going to go and darken the color, all the corners. And the edges. Yeah, I'm really happy with the way this is turning out. Okay, so that's left over. What would I... So that's what that looks like. Need to let it dry, of course. And with this, I'm just going to splotch it onto the... It's like acrylic paint when it dries. It's there's no move in it. I don't know what I'm going to use that for, but it might come in handy for something. Okay. Now, is there anything else that I could put on there? Maybe a couple of little runs of gesso, maybe? Just going to put it on a smear like that so it's easier to get the brayer to go through it. And I'm just going to barely touch this onto the fabric. Yeah, like that. Okay, that will do. Alrighty, need to dry that. So I just made a wee template just from a piece of paper, folded it in half and put the 3 holes there and just marked the top in case it got mixed up. And then I've made my holes in all of my signatures. My thread, I've got that's about 3 times the length of the page. And I'm just going to apply, make sure I get it up the right way. So the first one I'm putting in is going to be the middle signature. So I just want to make sure that's folded right. That looks pretty good. So we just go in through the hole in the middle. Now, this is probably the easiest form of binding. So we're just going to pull through. And I'm just going to put a clip on that to stop it from pulling out. Keeps that in place. Don't lose my thread. So on the outside, so we've gone through the first, the middle hole of the first signature, and to make sure this is nice and straight. As I didn't use the template on the cover, I'm just going to eyeball it. So back through to either the top or the bottom, doesn't matter which one. And now, just go back out through this hole here, and back in from the outside through that original hole. Okay. I like to check that my stitches look straight, and they do. So now what I'm going to do is just adjust this a little bit, so because I'm going to leave those strings hanging off there. So I want one piece on either side of this middle bit. So I tension it up, don't want to make it too tight. And if you already know this, then you can skip ahead. But for beginners, this is how you do it. Okay, so I'm just going to trim them a little bit. So that's the first signature in the book. So when I do my second one, and my other two, so I'll put them about 1/4 of an inch away from the original first one. Okay. Okay, so they're sewed in, and they're nice and straight, but because I didn't use the template, and I just eyeballed the distance apart that I wanted them, there's a slightly bigger gap on that one, but I'm not concerned about that. This just needs to be tightened a little bit. So I've used the wax linen thread, and it's quite easy to undo if you need to tighten up your signature, your sewing a little bit. So it's fairly easy, comes apart quite well. And which bit is it that's loose? There. Just don't want to tighten it too much, otherwise it'll tear the paper. Yeah, it's up to you whether you cut your threads off or you leave them hanging there. I'm leaving mine there for the time being. I'll probably end up cutting them off, but at the moment they're not bothering me, and it's better. Now all I want to do, and you can see it's got a nice rounded spine, and 36 pages in there ready for Junk Journal January. And all I want to do is put a little name, like a title on the book, and yeah, I'm not even going to worry about pockets or anything at this point in time. I might add some as I go along, but I'll just make up a little name tag for it. Okay, my book is completed. I made a little label here. I just stamped it out. That's why the letters are all jumbled, and I love that look. I've put it onto a piece of, well, I stamped it onto white. I put it onto this greeny colour behind. Then I put that piece, you know, that I mopped up the ink with. I used a piece of that to put behind, and then there's a little piece of tulle behind that. So we just got a simple 3-hole pamphlet stitch, soft spine journal made from an Amazon bag, and I have 3 signatures. Yeah, so 4 of 3 pages, gives you 12 for each signature. There's 3 of them, so 36 pages in total, ready to be used the Junk Journal January, which kicks off on the 1st of January. Now, if you want to take part in the challenge, Meg has the link to the prompts available on all of her Junk Journal January videos so far. So I'll open this cover out. So I'm really happy with the way that cover turned out. I love that. Let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know if you're going to take part so I can keep an eye out for your work. And in the meantime, happy crafting. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed to the channel. And I'll see you for Junk Journal January on the 1st of January. Cheers and hugs from Australia. Hooroo!